Hey, this is the homework help video for Math 3, Unit 7, Worksheet 4, and I'm going to start with question number 1. So for question number 1, they want us to graph the parabola x equals 1/4 y squared, and then in the process of graphing, we want to find the focus, directrix, and focal chord endpoints, as well as the vertex. So we want to always make sure that our linear term is isolated, so we want it to be x equals or y equals, just whichever one is not squared, make sure it's by itself. So for this one here, so I have x equals, and so that's in standard form, so that's good. And so then to find the vertex, I look to see what I'm adding to the x or to the y, and I'm not adding anything to x or y, so then my vertex is at 0, 0. So I'm going to go ahead and plot that right now. And so because this is a value less than 1, we're going to use the process of our focal chord length to find an accurate graph. So I know that this right here is my A value, and that is always equal to 1 over 4c. So my 1/4 is equal to 1 over 4c, right? So then that means that 4 has to equal 4c. So 4 equals 4c, and then solve for c, so divide by 4. So then I know that c is equal to 1, right? So another way is the denominator is always equal to 4c. So 4 times what will equal 4, and that would be 1. So then I know that c is equal to 1. So because this is an x equals, that means it's going to be a horizontal parabola, right? We're going to go opening in the either positive x direction or negative x direction. And since this is a positive value, then I know in general my graph is going to look like that, right? And we always want to do a little sketch to get an idea of, okay, what should it look like? So from my vertex, because c is equal to 1, I'm going to go left 1 and right 1. So left 1 and right 1. And then because it opens that direction, that makes this be my focus. And then this will be my point for my directrix, right? So then I'm going to draw my vertical line and put a D right here so I know that that's my directrix. Okay, so it's filling what we know already. So I know my focus here is over 1 up 0. And then I know my directrix, which is right here, is crossing the x-axis at -1. So crossing the x-axis at -1. So then for my focal chord endpoints, I know that I need to go from along my focus, right? I need to go up and down so many. And I know that the total distance here, the total distance has to be 4, right? So the total distance has to be 4. So the only way for that to be 4 is that I'm going to go up 2 and also down 2, right? So this is my focal chord length, which has to be that denominator, which is 4. And then I have an accurate graph to draw in my parabola. Okay? And so now I have to find the ordered pair. So I want the ordered pair for here. So to get to this dot from the origin, I need to go over 1 and up 2. So to the right 1 and up 2. And then to get to this dot from the origin, I need to go to the right 1 and down 2. So over 1 and then down 2. Okay? All right, and then let's take a look at question number 3. Okay, so same idea. So this is x equals -1/2 y squared, and I want to find my vertex first because I know it's, well, first is it in standard form, and yes, because I have my linear term isolated, so it's x equals. And so then I know my vertex is going to be, what am I adding to x? Nothing, so that would be 0. And what am I adding to y? Nothing, so that would be 0. So my vertex is at 0, 0. And then let's determine the basic idea of this graph. So it's an x equals graph. So that means it's going to open in the x direction. And then because it's negative, it's going to open in the negative x direction. So that means the basic shape is going to be something like that, right? So then once I get to here, I know that I have this right here. So the -1/2 or 1/2, the sign doesn't matter since I know it's going that direction, has to equal 1 over 4c, right? So then that means 2 has to equal 4c, right? And then solve for c, so I'm going to divide by 4. And then 2 divided by 4 is 1/2. So then I know C is equal to 1/2. Okay? So that means, so from here, so x equals, I need to find my focus and my directrix. So I'm going to go left and right from my vertex, which is right here. So I'm going to go left 1/2, and I'm going to go right 1/2. So somewhere in there, right? So this is my focus because of the direction, right? So my focus is contained in the arms of the parabola. The directrix is always beyond that, right? The opposite side. So then this is my directrix here. So I'm going to draw my vertical line. And there's my directrix, okay? So then the focus, let's come up with that ordered pair. So I went 1/2, right, to the left 1/2. So I went to the left 1/2, and then up and down 0. Then for my directrix, it's crossing the x-axis, so crossing the x-axis at 1/2. So then I want to find my 2 focal chord endpoints, and so I know that that total distance needs to be that denominator, right? Total distance needs to be 2. So for my focus, I have to be a total distance of 2. So then that means I want to go split that in half. So I want to go up 1, and I want to go down 1, right? Up 1 and down 1. And then I have my 3 points to draw my parabola. And then I want to find the values of those coordinates, right? So to get to here, I went left 1/2, right, because my C value is 1/2, so left 1/2, and then I went up 1 to give me a total distance of 2 here. And then for my other point, this point here, from the origin, I went left 1/2 because C was 1/2, and then down 1 from the origin, and again, so that this would be a total distance of my denominator, which is 2. And let's do one more. Okay, we're going to take a look at number 5. Let's see here. So this one is asking me to make a sketch and then use the formal definitions, so that's that whole distance formula, to derive the equation in descriptive form. Okay, so my focus is at 2, 0, so over 2 up 0. And then my directrix is at -2, so right here, so x equals -2. Right? And so then that means my graph is going to do something like this, right? Something like that. And I know that it's going to be split in the middle here for my vertex. So I don't know exactly how wide it is. I could figure it out, but I don't need to make an accurate sketch, but I will get a general idea. Okay. All right, so hopefully I get an x equals positive value from this. Okay, so I know that the distance from random point to focus has to equal the distance from random point to the directrix, right? So my random point is always xy. My focus was given as 2, 0. Random point is xy. And my directrix, they tell me the x value is -2, and then anywhere for y. So now distance formula. So I will have the square root, subtract your x values, and square, plus subtract your y values, and square. And then do the same thing on this side right here. So subtract your x values. So I have a double negative here, right? So minus the negative, so that's positive. And then subtract your y values, and square. Do a little bit of simplifying, so I know that I can square both sides of this equation to get rid of the square root, right? And that's always going to happen, so nothing new there, but because we are using the formal definition, we still need to show that step. So the square and the root cancel. Y minus 0 is just y, and then that would be x plus 2 squared, and then y minus y is 0. So then once I get to here, I want to distribute and combine like terms. So I'm going to distribute and combine like terms. So I'm going to write x minus 2 out twice. And write out x plus 2 twice. And then let's distribute. Oops, I don't know where that extra squared came from. Okay, so I'm going to multiply that out. And do the same over here. So distribute that as well. And then I can combine like terms. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so now if I look at this, I can subtract x squared from both sides, and then that will end up canceling, right? And I can also subtract 4 from both sides. Also will cancel, right? 4 minus 4. And then here the 4x's won't cancel because they're opposite signs. So I'm going to go ahead and add 4x to that 4x. And so this side will cancel to 0, right? So on the left side, the only thing I'm left with is y squared. So I'm going to bring that down here. So y squared. And then 4 plus 4 is 8. So I have y squared equals 8x. And then divide both sides by 8. So I get x equals, there's an implied 1 here, so 1/8 y squared. Okay. So if I look at my sketch, so I know that total distance here should be 4, but I also know that this distance here is 4, right? So if that's 4, that means I should have gone equally up and down 4 as well, right? So that's a terrible sketch, and I could have been more accurate. But I was just doing a verify here. So I should have gone up because that distance is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. So since that total distance is 4, from here to here should be 4, and there to there should be 4. So it should look more like, oops. Wow, I'm messing the sketch up, aren't I? Okay. Ay. There we go. So slightly better, okay? And that's it for this video.